Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center coming on the air because we have a severe thunderstorm warning in play for portions of St. Johns County until 3:45. So some wind concerns, maybe about 60 miles an hour on this Sunday afternoon, and some hail at about quarter size possible over there. So let's go ahead and zoom on in here right now. We've seen some strength in it with this. I really hadn't had any warnings as I've been watching the overall pattern here locally over these last couple of days or so, looking last night and into today. But now we do have a warning here in play as we're looking toward the I-95 corridor. So we need to make sure folks are taking heed of this here. At about 3:10, a severe thunderstorm located near Fruit Cove, moving east at 25 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail, Ward Golf Village, Durban, Nocatee there. We did have a report of a wind gust to about 50 miles an hour observed there in Rivertown in St. Johns County there, 3 miles east-northeast of Rincon Springs, about 3:05, and some hail that was, under severe limits as well. So the concern is as it gets closer to the coast, it could intensify a little bit more so. There were some wind gusts observed that were not, to 50 maybe, as we're looking a little bit further back in the timeline as well. As we're tracking things here, as we're monitoring them here in toward the weather center. So just tracking the situation here. I know pea-sized hail was observed there 2 miles east of Asbury Lake there in Clay County around 2:30. And then also around 2:45, pea-sized hail observed there with winds of at least 30 miles an hour. So now at least winds of 50 though. So that's a sign of intensification. You have a lot of energy here in the overall setup. So that's something to definitely be aware of here in toward the weather center. In terms of supercell composite, we don't have a lot of it, but as you get closer to the coast, you start to see that uptick a little, and that may be playing a role with this. So we also have an advisory, not a warning, but a significant weather advisory on a storm right around Stark and Bradford County where I'm at. It's not too impressive right now, but we're going to keep our eyes on the situation here, obviously, as it does transpire this afternoon. But the warning is over here. The warning is toward I-95. You do not want to be at the beach here right now in the South Ponte Vedra beach area because this is a very dangerous storm and we could get the warning extended as this gets closer toward the coast here. That's the only storm that looks, really impressive, but some of the others have lightning, a little bit of lightning with them, but this has quite a bit of lightning with it here as it gets closer toward the coastline over the next little bit. So I know at least the weather that was staying, good out there toward Tallahassee for FSU baseball this afternoon. Getting that third game in now, but toward the east, that's not the case. The weather is not good here, and whenever thunder roars, you want to go indoors. But as we kind of look at things here, this storm's just popping up in Nassau County. I know one of my other sources kind of catching on to that all of a sudden. But as we go ahead and continue to watch things here, let me go ahead and give you an overview of what we're talking about. You see Tallahassee now all clear, and temperatures in the 80s there. In terms of, all clear from any type of rain and lightning. But as we just watch things here, you see the infrared satellite there. I pulled that up for a second. Now let me go ahead and pull on the visible satellite here. Yeah, you can kind of see what I'm talking about, the development further east. So again, I just continuing to give you guys the very latest on everything as it does happen. Again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in play at 3:45 for parts of St. Johns County. Now, we just got an update from the weather service in Jacksonville there. They said at about 3:22, a severe thunderstorm was located over Ward Golf Village or 10 miles southeast of Green Cove, moving east at about 25 miles an hour. 10 miles southeast of Fruit Cove, moving east at about 25 miles an hour. So again, you just got to be very mindful of this here. We could have some hail damage here. That's a possibility. A little bit of wind damage as well. So definitely watching this area very carefully here. I know on the old schedule will be a week away from the Players Golf Tournament, but they ended up having that in March here. So on that new schedule they've been running here now, going back a few years or so, give or take. But as we go ahead and continue to watch things, continue to track things, let's pull up the camera near the St. Augustine Outlet Mall there. We'll kind of try to give you guys a visual on the weather concerns here with this. So let's go ahead. I know a lot of folks go there, on a weekend, and, weekend before Mother's Day here. A lot of folks may be out there, and you do see some pretty nasty sky conditions here. Pretty nasty sky conditions for sure. But as we're looking at things here this afternoon, so just whenever thunderbolts go north, we actually have some severe weather in that area right now. So you need to be very mindful of that, potentially severe weather in toward that area. So let's just go ahead and keep looking at the situation now. We're going to look at some other cameras here with the viewpoints. This is toward I-95 at State Road 16. You can see here what we're dealing with. The camera shaking a little bit. Again, a visual on going with the situation with severe thunderstorm warning on Plato 345 for parts of St. Johns County. I know we're just continuing to track all this here for you. It's a scenario here where Storm Prediction Center mentioned how they weren't gonna probably have to issue any type of watch, but have a threat of some strong severe storms all the way from northeast Florida all the way, to the east coast here of Florida. As we're looking ahead, the daytime heating, boundary in play, sea breeze interactions all can play a role here in this as we're in the early May now, warmer temperatures here. But we really do need to rain. We've had wildfire concerns or even some evacuations that were ordered for a small bit in Marion County late Friday just for a small bit, time there. But we really need to rain. We've got about a quarter inch or so far today in eastern Bradford County. It's not really enough, but by any stretch, but it's still better than nothing, just as long as you don't get the severe weather. Look at this camera now shaking though. We are starting to see that wind really pick up there in towards St. Johns County. As we're looking at the situation this afternoon with this severe thunderstorm warning that is in play until 3:45, as we're trying to give you all the latest updates here on all the different platforms: Facebook, Twitter /X, YouTube, Twitch, and then cloudweather.com. So there's that camera really shaking here. And that's trying to tell that weather story. Again, it's a severe thunderstorm warning. For St. John's, we just got a new one now, it's an extension. So let's go ahead and we'll jump away from this for a moment and go back over to the weather maps here and our warning information, because that is so critical here. You see the geography. I'm sure it's just going to the coast here with the extension, and that also goes to 3:45. So the latest information from the Weather Service there in Jacksonville at 3:27. A severe thunderstorm is located near South Ponte Vedra, 9 miles northwest of St. Augustine, moving east at about 25 miles an hour. So 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail, the potential threats: South Ponte Vedra Beach, Quanah River State Park, and Volano Beach. So for your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to flash flooding, so do not drive your vehicles to flooded roadways. Though again, we really do need to rain more than anything. So even if we see a quick surge of moisture here that causes some flooding, maybe rapid in a couple spots, this is going to be an overall net positive, as long as everybody stays safe in terms of the rainfall here. Now, the lightning, the wind damage potential, hail not so much, but in terms of the, just the rainfall, again, not lightning, not wind damage, not hail, but the rainfall, that can be a net positive here. So, now the hail is picking up here in size a little bit now, according to our algorithm. The storm is strengthening, it is upticking as it gets closer to the coast. It's kind of been the forecast here for a while, I know. Kind of maybe having more toward east central Florida, and it still could, but the forecast models have been a little bit off in some ways. But this idea of some development in the east coast whether it was in our area or further south, that wasn't off here, as we're seeing the warnings in play right now. And that's what we're needing to stick with you. It's not a tornado warning, I understand, but you know, we're not, you know, seeing that, as we are always on for any tornado warning storms within the 62 county area. But we need to be on with this because this is strong enough. Folks are at the beach this Sunday afternoon. Haven't had too many of these lately here. We need to make sure folks are getting inside and away from windows here. Even though this isn't the most impressive severe storm ever by any stretch, we want to make sure folks from St. Augustine Airport there through South Ponte Vedra Beach, you know, and as approaching that Sawgrass area, they're getting inside and away from windows. So again, this whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors. This is a pretty impressive thunderstorm here this afternoon. So again, make sure you're taking heed, as we're in Bradford, but this is in St. John's County. This new warning also gets 345, so it's moving pretty quickly, you know, off toward that coastline here. So at least that's some good news here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking them, as we're giving you the latest updates. I'm going to pull up some images here, some dark skies here in just a moment. Some dark skies definitely, you know, warrant showing here in the coverage. So let me go ahead and pull this one up here. One other source. There's a look at I-95 at mile marker 317 here. Again, trying to give you guys the very latest this afternoon. So there you go, kind of telling that other story here. Watching for any type of rotation or lowering. You know, hopefully we don't see anything like that. There's pretty low chance of that with this. There's not a tornado possible tag. I haven't seen a whole bunch of rotation, but I know it is a weird weather pattern because you do have, you know, like as we're looking, you know, toward the east and, you know, and even the Midwest to some degree, like around Paducah today, some of these areas upper 40s, lower 50s with rain. So interesting pattern there. Yeah, it's been up that way, but as you look here, our barometric pressure is about 1,011 millibars here east of Stark. So, you know, that's down there some, but it's not, you know, too crazy. But I know we had our lowest pressure we've had here with our readings in a while, you know, with this tool, Davis Weather Station that I have. The lowest we had with that was during Helene last year. That was really dropping, not maybe as much as Irma. I didn't use that tool then to measure. Still, you know, nothing like that. That was in the, you know, 980s, I want to say, with Helene, if I remember right, with some of those readings here. But again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest on all this here this afternoon. That's a big difference, by the way, if you kind of understand pressure, 1,010 to like 989 or something. Again, continuing to give you guys the very latest here on what's going on. Just trying to check all the different views here. Let me switch to a different radar view, quite honestly. We are starting to see a little bit of a circulation signature on our algorithm. I actually don't see a whole bunch, so, but sometimes right near the coast, we gotta be really careful here, just in case. Right there on US 1, we are seeing some wind enhancement, if nothing else. I don't really see a, you know, a rotating couplet or anything, to be quite honest, but right on that edge, though, we gotta be a little more careful because that could spin something up. Yeah, well, it's starting to get closer and closer to the coastline now, but again, hopefully this is going to be our only area where we have a warning today, but, you know, Smith Jackson back out here will have to be watched. But this area here around South Ponte Vedra Beach, you do not need to be outside right now on South Ponte Vedra Beach. This could become, you know, a deadly situation if you get struck by lightning. That's your biggest threat. But also could be injured by, let's say, an umbrella. You have an umbrella out there that you were trying to, you know, use maybe, and now all of a sudden, if it's one of those really big gazebo type ones, it might you start to fly, and then it could cause some type of injuries. But again, just gotta be really careful here with this situation as we're looking at it here, as we're tracking. I'm just trying to keep you up to date. Let me go ahead and go to another viewpoint here. This is mile marker 318 there on I-95 by the Outlet Mall. See all those dark skies telling the weather story. We don't have any cameras right at the immediate coast that we can go to with the traffic system, but this is one visible here right now. Again, trying to give you the latest updates here. Trying to keep you safe. Severe thunderstorm warning continuing. At 3:35, a severe thunderstorm is located over South Ponte Vedra, or 9 miles north of St. Augustine, moving east at 25 miles an hour. The hazard 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail. South Ponte Vedra Beach, Squanah River State Park, and Milano Beach. So, for your protection, we're in the interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building here. As we're looking again, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter-size hail, so a marginal warning, but a warning nonetheless here, and there definitely is a lot of lightning here with this. So whenever thunder or roars, you need to be going indoors here in an area, especially that's so vulnerable. You know, you're so vulnerable to getting struck by lightning there at the beach and the like. So again, just thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me this afternoon as we're looking at the situation. I know. Let's go to a broad view here. Weather looks really good out toward FSU there in Tallahassee now in terms of any, inclement weather to delay a game that's going on there right now between Clemson and Florida State. That's not going to happen. It doesn't look like. No real thunderstorm risk there. I know FSU lost game 2. They finished that earlier this afternoon. They lost 6-3 to Clemson, unfortunately for my Noles, but it's going really good in game 3 so far. They are up 10-0 in the third inning against Clemson. Absolutely remarkable. They're 10-0 in the bottom of the third inning right now, so it may end up being a situation here where things, wrap up pretty quick with the afternoon there. With FSU in control right now in that baseball game, 10-0. Number 5 FSU beating number 3 Clemson in a blowout. So hopefully the bullpen can hold on up and get that win to close, the series victory out, win 2 out of 3. But again, let's go ahead and keep watching things here as we go ahead and go back on in toward this viewpoint here with a severe thunderstorm warning that is in play here. Is in play. And let me go ahead and continue to watch things here. Let me go ahead and continue to give you the latest updates. And let's see here. This makes it look a lot more impressive. It's probably something kind of in between. Luckily, you see the frame before, now the current frame. This is going to be off the coast here, probably about 5 minutes with the, warnings going away here at 3:45. So then, hopefully nothing else goes through your back behind us in our area or anywhere. But, in our area, there's a pretty good chance we might get lucky and not have any more warnings. Now, it may not be the case down toward Central Florida as we look ahead. I'll go ahead and give you our forecast model look at things. There's, by the way, just a little bit of weak rotation trying to develop here right as this gets toward the coast. We've seen sometimes quick tornado touchdowns before here. right at the St. Johns County coast, so we got to be kind of careful. Not a big chance of it. It wouldn't be that strong, but still, that could be an enhancement right at the coast here in South Ponte Vedra Beach. So that's where we're tracking this here. So we're monitoring it. Let me go ahead and see what else it might have for you here, as we're working our computer pretty hard this afternoon to try to give you guys the very latest. I know. Let me go ahead and switch on over right now to another perspective here. It looks like now we just got a new scan on our other source here. That's, what I've been loading in here, and you see that spin? Looks like it may be just off the coast now. I may have had some intensification with that. Now that's kind of on the edge. We still probably have some hail there right around South Ponte Vedra Beach. So as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things, that's worth noting here this afternoon for sure. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here to protect you, your friends, your family here as the situation does transpire. Let me go ahead and switch on over toward the model data that I was alluding to. You see temperatures here like 81 Keystone, but 88 in Palatka area. As we go ahead and try to, show you, I know we have a boundary here that's been trying to kind of bring some cooler air in here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here in the overall meteorological pattern. But as we kind of continue to give you guys the very latest here, latest on exactly what's going on. Some of this, here as we're looking, you'll have some of these spots, just get that rain-cooled air. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here on what we're dealing with. I did have in the forecast here like 59 coming up here for Tuesday morning here across our, area in general. Some areas a little bit cooler. Some areas, of course, will be a little bit warmer now. Let's look at some of the latest data here. That looks still online. Maybe even tonight we'll get close to that. But just kind of continue to track all this here. And look at the model guidance. It's not really picking up on our warning here, with the storm at 3 o'clock. And it doesn't really have a whole bunch here in our area. Maybe something developing in Camden and Glenn County area at some point. So that didn't really look exactly right. So models have had a tough time with some of this here. Doesn't have too much in East Central Florida there as we're looking, but we'll just have to watch. We'll just have to make sure. We had some warnings in towards South Florida earlier this afternoon, some thunderstorm warnings, around Miami-Dade County and the like. So I just have to be kind of mindful here of things. I know in the night we had some strong thunderstorms, didn't get any warnings, but we were close to having to go on there a couple times. I had some weak rotation and the like. Thought might get some type of warning where we needed to jump in, but in the action, one area had a weekend, then we had another area we were watching in Marion later on, but ended up, the first area is kind of out there toward the eastern Big Bend, and maybe we could say western parts of Central Florida that ready to cut in for. Actually, there's another area too in South Georgia. So really 3 different areas, quite honestly, pretty close to having to go in for, but none of them ever got a warning, so that was good. But then, kind of moved through maybe a little quicker than what the models were suggesting. This ARRR, especially as I kind of progress this view here. As we get in toward that Monday there, you see eventually maybe some development in there. Maybe, but not showing a whole bunch for a while until you get some around Brevard County. Maybe in Osceola there. That's tomorrow though, so we'll see. We'll see. The models are having a tough time with this as we're looking at the situation. So current radar view now shows that we do not have the warning on the board anymore because we have pretty quickly there reached 345. So let me see if they've sent out any special weather statements to keep this going any longer, or is it really kind of probably just got off the coast? But there has been a report of hail there. Nocatee, but it's only to peace size. That's not really that close to severe. In the one report anyway, at 338, peace size hail 6 miles west of South Ponte Vedra there, occurring in the Nocatee area. Oh, we're just going to keep looking at some of my different tools. I'm looking at my radar scope source here. And just trying to see anything. We do have, I'm going to go ahead and pull up here another source. You see around South Ponte Vedra Beach. Yeah, that was framed from 2 minutes ago. That's probably pretty much got off the coast. The hail threat there. Wind threat, and then wind threat might have even been out ahead and away. But we'll watch this storm in Bradford County. Make it a significant weather advisory, but it doesn't look that crazy. This one does have an advisory here in the north parts of Clay. You know, in St. Johns counties there, Putnam, but not seeing a whole bunch with it. So, watching this area in Nassau County here between Hilliard and Callahan, nothing too crazy there either. But we'll just watch the interactions of the coast to see if anything else strengthens on up. As we go ahead and kind of wrap it up here, though, thanks so much for tuning in, interest in me for now. We've been monitoring this weather situation. Of course, we'll give you any more updates if we need to, with any more warnings that, you know, were to be issued as we continue to stay FSU strong, of course, here. And then as we go ahead and say you the different platforms. I know, speaking of FSU strong, folks headed back from different graduations, you know, going to the beach even, could be impacted by some of the strong and severe weather. So that's something to still take into consideration. You have Facebook, Casey Cloud WX, Cloud Weather, Twitter, X at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, you have Twitch Cloud Weather, and then cloudweather.com with all the different platforms there available. So again, just continuing to monitor things. That has all the different, you know, platforms listed on cloudweather.com. You have the interactive radar available over there as well. So trying to keep you guys up to date. That's gonna do it. Have a good day. Have a good night here ahead. Assuming we won't have to cut back in, and we'll be continuing to watch the overall meteorological pattern here. You know, hopefully we don't have to cut in here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. You know, as we're watching anything local. Now, on Tuesday, it may be a different story out toward Texas. You know, there's a chance tomorrow as well, but as we're looking, you know, much lingering severe threats to east central southeast Florida as well. But then around Midland, Texas tomorrow, there is an enhanced risk of severe weather, mainly for wind, or well, actually mainly for hail, but winds in there. But then there is a tornado threat as well that, you know, will be worth watching. And then on Tuesday, though, some of the models I was looking at earlier this morning, we were kind of really watching the weather around here in case we needed to jump in. They were really honing in on, you know, areas of central Texas and, you know, eastern Texas there for a severe threat on Tuesday, like Waco, Houston, Austin there, Lufkin, you know, tornado threat could be going up there. And if we need to cut in for anything nationally in terms of something really getting significant and approaching or getting to, you know, a tornado emergency or something like that, then we would obviously. By the way, switching back over towards St. Johns County, a gust about 40 miles an hour, again under severe limits. So hopefully, you know, that was measured there around 340 there at St. Johns County Fire Station, 2 miles southeast of Ponte Vedra, South Ponte Vedra. So again, that's a sign, hopefully, that it's staying below severe limits, but can't guarantee it for sure. So again, just continuing to keep you guys up to date on the overall weather picture. But for now, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe.